The show is still the Eastern Business Report on Afia Business Morning. I'm Nnamdi Obaya. As part of our Fashion Week, focusing on the business of fashion, we'll be talking to stylists today. And joining me now is Uzoma Esinulo, Creative Director and Co-founder of, is it Mylestine?
Mylestine Clothing.
Ah, the unique spelling, Milestone with a Y. Milestone Clothing. You're very welcome. Good to have you here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So let me start by asking, are you in the business of just retail and styling, or is there a manufacturing element? Do you design or produce any of your own clothing?
Well, we design, we manufacture from scratch.
Okay.
So we source our materials from, market hubs like Onitsha and Aba, and then bring them into Enugu here. We also have good tailors who we work, side by side with to get our designs done. So basically, we start from scratch. We do all the designing, we do all the printing here. We also we are into printing too. So we do basically everything here.
So now let me start asking the questions. Now, with regards to sourcing of your textiles, you said Onitsha, Aba.
Yeah.
Is it? Let's talk about, first of all, the challenges that come with that. Yeah. Of course, one being the fact that at least people in Aba tell me that a lot of the fabric now comes into the country from Vietnam, China. We don't really have a textile industry here. So between now and maybe last year, 2 years ago, what's the price difference for textiles?
Yeah, I would say the hyperinflation that we have experienced in the country has also taken a huge toll on the fashion industry. And I would say it has more than doubled in the last 6 months. We have had a huge increase in the prices of materials, buttons, and even tailoring materials. So it has honestly influenced the way we also relate with our customers, because honestly, the industry is really struggling at the moment, and this hyperinflation thing has taken a huge toll on it.
I mean, now, because I was just saying that if the price has more than doubled, that means that, one, I mean, is it that we'll be doing simpler designs, or is the cost transferred directly to customers? And how are customers reacting to the increase in prices?
A lot of customers would say clothing is not on their priority, like topmost priority. And so they would rather put it off, or go for cheaper options, or even go into the thrift market. So it has, a lot of people putting their wardrobes, down the scale. And honestly, we think, we just hope that things get better in the near future, but as of now, there's a downward trend.
So I mean, particularly in this region now, because in the southeast, south, unlike places like Lagos and Abuja, the population is not the same, the purchasing power is not the same. So from the start already, so do you have markets outside the southeast? Are you looking more at customers outside the region, or are you trying to harness and maximize what you can get in here?
We are also looking at customers outside the region and even internationally. We leverage social media to, showcase our designs and also access wider markets. So it's basically an international thing. We're looking beyond Enugu, beyond Nigeria at the moment. So it's good for us, it's good for the business. The purchasing power here isn't that much compared to other parts of Nigeria, especially Lagos, Abuja. But we still have, people who patronize us, who are also doing very well here, who keep our business going.
Now, I mean, it's good to hear that there are still steady customers, but my mind keeps going back to the fact that because you're going to have to go to Aba Onitsha to get this fabric, and you're domiciled in Enugu, this now brings in the transport element.
Yeah.
And you're talking about cost of fabrics, cost of buttons, zips, thread, all those things, the haberdashery cost. But now the cost of transport is another factor entirely, because you have to bring these things in.
Yeah.
Is the transport pricing and the increase in it, is that enough to affect significantly the cost of the end product for your business?
Sure, it is. And most of the time, you may even have to do the traveling yourself. You may not be able to rely solely on what you have discussed with the supplier in Aba. You may not be 100% confident with what they would send down to you. Sometimes they may send down something entirely different from what you have ordered because of non-availability of that product. So it requires, sometimes we fashion designers have to travel. If we have to rely 100% on that kind of supply chain where we sit down and hope that, products come in and we expect that this product is actually what we ordered, it may fail us from time to time. And so what we lack here is an organized supply chain system. So it needs to be much more organized than what we have here, where we have to make phone calls, where we have to begin to describe what we want. We need something that is much more streamlined and organized.
Because before this you mentioned leveraging social media, leveraging the internet. So within the fashion value chain, has there been any technology in between? Like maybe from here your supplier has maybe all their stuff in a digital catalog or WhatsApp, even a WhatsApp group where you can check all the materials, or Instagram page. How the fabric suppliers in Aba and Onitsha, how much have they keyed into technology to even maybe make it unnecessary for you designers to always have to travel down?
I would say it is almost non-existent. Like I mentioned earlier, the organized supply chain is what we lack in this industry, especially in this part of. I think it's a Nigerian thing. I don't know if I would class it as that, but we do not have that kind of platform where we interact and easily access items or products that we want. So it is done merely by just phone calls, pictures, one-on-one chats, WhatsApp, and the rest. So it's a big issue, and that is why it requires most of us designers to move from here to Onitsha and Aba to physically source for our products. Otherwise, we get into trouble.
I can imagine that. And the trader just wants to move his inventory out of the store.
Yes.
Now, like every other business, you're not immune to government activities.
Yes.
Again, another cost factors, levies, taxes. Would you say that your industry in particular faces a lot of this? I know there are industries that are not as heavily regulated and taxed as others. Is the fashion industry one that you feel is a bit maybe too regulated, not regulated enough, or just okay?
I think it is not regulated enough. We still experience ethical issues in the fashion industry. We still experience a lot of issues like child labor. For instance, we have, I have personally withnessed that kind of an instance where you see children being involved in production of clothing. We have ethical issues like the kind of materials that we use in the production of our clothing. Some of those chemicals or some of those prints are not friendly with human beings we should not even come in contact with them. But I've seen dyes, I've seen chemicals used on clothing that should not even come close to them. So I think there should be more watch on the kind of things that we use on our fabrics, because at the end of the day, they come back to us.
Speaking of regulation, is there any regulation for, practitioners, or is it anybody who, takes a 2-week course? Because from back in the day, the way to learn fashion design and tailoring was to be an apprentice to somebody, and tailoring apprentice. Then, if you had an eye for design, you went into designing. So, is there any regulation, any standard for who comes into the industry, or is it just if you can register a company with CAC, you're okay? It's an all-comers affair.
There's no regulation, honestly. Like, once you are able to register yourself and get the required skills, there's little or no regulation in the industry. And I think it's something that should be looked upon. We just practice the best way we can. We try to follow the standards that we experience internationally, and that's what we apply in the industry. But for now, there's little or no regulation in that area.
I'm glad you mentioned international, because it brings me to where I was coming to. You've been involved with brands like Puma and other bigger brands.
Yeah.
How do Nigerians generally relate to local brands? Like, you walk into a store and you see, Puma, Nike, Adidas, Ralph Lauren, and you're willing to pay 200,000 for a polo shirt.
Yes.
Now a Nigerian designer spending maybe even more to manufacture each one. Yeah. They don't have the warehouses in China with the large labor making the designs. They are using the same thickness of and grainage of fabric.
Yes.
But a Nigerian would not want to pay 30,000 for what Hilfiger or Ralph Lauren will sell for you in Naira 200,000. Why? What do you think the issue is? Why do Nigerians have this issue? Is it something the brands are not doing right?
I think it's more of the perception we have had back in time, up until recently, when we began to embrace our own. These bigger brands have factories in China, and they have constant electricity, they have good supply chain, and so they compete very heavily with the Nigerian market. And in most cases, most of these products come into Nigeria at a lower price compared to what we are able to offer here. And it is more of the kind of the experience we have here, electricity and the labor. Sometimes, in fact, in recent times, we have had shortages in labor in the fashion industry, not just the fashion industry. There's a lot of generally. So Nigerians are beginning to embrace locally made clothing. I have experienced people come to buy clothing from us, and they are surprised that it was made here in Nigeria or made. So it is after they have bought it, and then they ask, where was it made? And then we say it was made locally, and they're surprised that, wow, this is really nice. So I see them gradually embracing our own, especially when the standards are there, they are ready to buy them. But it doesn't take away the fact that they are ready to pay more for the big international brands, but they're paying also for our products too.
Now, another issue is promotion and showcasing. I know this is May, so by next month will be the Coast City Fashion Experience every June. That's a constant, and of course we'll be having him tomorrow on the show.
Yes.
Talk about fashion events organizing. But how many? I know there's food and fashion fair. There are a few things here and there in Enugu, but how many real outlets are there for people in the fashion community? How many outlets are there for them to come out, exhibit themselves, network? And one thing I've noticed again is a double-ended question. When I go for these events, I see a lot of designers, I see a lot of stylists, I see makeup, I see hair. I never see fabric suppliers.
Yeah.
I never see the back-end people at fashion events, whether it's a trade fair, exhibition, so there's that disconnect. What more needs to be done for exposure, and why is the entire value chain not meeting themselves?
Okay, so I think for the manufacturing of fabrics, I think it's more of the equipment that we lack here, the skills, the technical know-how that we do not have in this part of the world. And but I'm seeing gradually people embracing the manufacturing of fabric. I saw recently, not in the East, but somewhere, I think it was in the West or Lagos, where they were advertising for customized fabric printing, manufacturing from scratch. So you send in your designs and they create them for you. So I haven't seen such in the East, even though I have heard that in Aba especially, you can also get your fabrics created from scratch. But again, it brings to question the competition that our local manufacturers face in trying to produce these fabrics. When these fabrics come in from China, they tend to, swallow and cannibalize our local markets here. And so that is the issue that these people face. There are a few of them there in Aba, but are they able to compete with these fabrics coming in from China?
That's a good thing, because even the people bringing in the fabrics from China, I was talking last week to Dr. Shebu Business School, and he said that they are beginning to face a problem in Onitsha. The importers of these fabrics now have the Chinese and Lebanese in the market with them now.
Okay.
So even that, the Nigerian importer himself has lost out.
Yes.
Because the Chinese are now here, in the market, bringing it in themselves.
Yeah.
So what exactly can be done to reverse costs? Because unless we agree finally that we are going to just, franchise our fabric production to Asia, be it Vietnam, China, anywhere, is there anything that can be done to reverse costs at this point?
I think the number one issue manufacturers face all over the country is the issue of power. Not just the availability of power, but the cost of power at this moment. So it is something we need to look into. That is the power thing. Perhaps we should begin to switch to much more greener kind of powering, where we have the use of solar inverters and the rest, even though sometimes there are limitations to these sources. But power is a major thing for manufacturers, and these machines are quite heavy. And I would also say the technical skills too. A lot of times I have witnessed machines break down in our industry, and you would have to wait for a technician all the way from Lagos to come in to fix it. And even when the technician comes, he needs to call China to, for some questions and the rest. So there's a technical gap there. I've seen when you go into places where production is done, you see machines lying fallow, broken down, and there's no hope to repair these machines. And so,
okay, on a final note, because I always see lots of intervention in education, intervention in manufacturing, intervention. I've never seen deliberate and sustained governmental or non-governmental intervention in any part of the fashion industry, from fabric to runway. I've never seen any sort of intervention. My final question is, one, why is this? And two, what is the industry not doing right to get this kind of respect and support for itself?
I would say there has been very little intervention. Recently, I witnessed this earlier this year where the special assistant on digital and creative economy was here in Enugu, and they had a roundtable, a fashion roundtable, where there were discussions on how the fashion industry in Enugu can be harnessed and harnessed and moved forward. So, basically, I think there has been some, notice from the government in terms of trying to intervene. I know that they are planning to empower about 5,000 young fashion designers on technical skills, and also creating a hub where they can come together, network and share ideas, and also manufacture. So I know that the Enugu state government was also involved in that roundtable through the SME. So that is about the only one I know about at the moment, but there has been very little interventions, honestly, and we need more of that.
We do need more of that, and we hope for more of that. And of course, we will continue the discussion. The idea that, I think too many people don't see it as a business, and which is of course why we're taking out a whole week, because too many people don't see it as a business. There seems to be this thing of fashion is just getting my clothes, and
yes.
There seems to be no.
It's a huge industry. It's a huge industry. It runs into millions of dollars if well harnessed.
And we are pleading with everybody that we need to harness this industry. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Uzoma Esinulo, co-founder and creative director, Mylestine Clothing. Thanks so much for being here. We will be doing our bit. We will be supporting the industry, of course, its activities and everything that needs to be done to promote fashion in the region. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The Easter Business Report will be back right after this break. We're still day one of fashion, and we're still talking to our designers and our stylists, and we'll have another guest in the studio when we come back.